bringing to you. Every time we turn live, man, you know it's the truth. Every after show, moving down, it's the time to move around. No Gimmicks podcast is going down. Every night, every time in the ring. This is the time for no gimmicks, no, we doing our thing. What's your state of mind? State divine. Moving down a statement when we take the line. This is exactly wrestling the state design. When you see Stone Cold like me, with the stunner in the world, exactly, man, what we bring. Every night we move like Brock Lesnar, the F5, no gimmicks. We take you to your limit, what's the feeling? When we live in the air, you know we on, it's the time. Guarantee we move, you know how we respond. The state design, when we feel it. Moving down, what's the healing? No gimmicks is the feeling.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the No Gimmicks podcast here on the DFPN. Real quick, man, shout out to Monteezy. That song is amazing. It made me happy. It makes me happy when I hear it.
It goes hard. It still goes hard.
I like that. I like it a lot. But welcome back to the show, everybody. We got a good one for you tonight. We're gonna switch a little gears. Tonight's gonna be a little Star Wars heavy, and we have a special guest here tonight to help us talk some Star Wars. But before we get into that, we want to, recap a little bit of Bad Blood and what happened there, and with the 2-hour Raw, and then we got some talk to go over. So relax, sit back. It's gonna be a comfortable ride, and to my co-host, the fabulous one, the Darth Lord himself, Mr. D. Vader. What's up, buddy?
Nothing much. What's up, man?
Man, it's a good day. It's a good day.
It's gonna be entertaining day.
It's gonna be an entertaining day today.
Yeah.
So let's jump in this real quick, man. Bad Blood this past weekend.
Right.
We had a 5-match show, and WWE has been they're crafting this out. How did you feel about Bad Blood overall?
I mean, overall, besides little, botches here or there, I thought it was a pretty solid show. I mean, it was what it was. You know what I mean? I thought, to me, honestly, dude, look, match of the night, Hell in a Cell. Like that
I would agree.
I mean, just and I hear people saying, they literally, and I posted this in our No Gimmicks podcast fan group. To me, the true MVP of the WWE is Drew McIntyre, because this guy was able to play off of CM Punk's injury, carry this feud on his own majority of the time. This.
Yeah.
And this is all over. And I hear people saying, oh, what are they fighting over? Oh, they're fighting over. Yeah, it's a bracelet, but it's also what that bracelet means. They were able to take something so, minuscule as a bracelet and build a whole angle around it. You know what I mean? That just shows the creative mind of CM Punk and Drew McIntyre to do this and to come out there and put on a performance like they did in Hell in a Cell. Listen, no one's ever going to be able to top Undertaker, Mankind, King of the Ring 98. No one should ever try to top that. You're never going to top Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, the first Hell in a Cell.
At Bad Blood.
At Bad Blood, correct. But this one here, I think, fits in that story of one of the best Hell in a Cell matches, because this one had so much heat going into it. These two, Drew and CM Punk, hats off to these guys. Phenomenal chemistry together. Unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal chemistry. Worked everybody into thinking they hate each other, when in reality they have crafted this unbelievable story that they have done here. And it's like, if you put down MVPs, it's bro, no doubt Drew McIntyre. This guy showed us what it is. Like this is the Drew McIntyre that we should have got when he was the chosen one, quote unquote.
I agree with that. Now, I'm not mad at where he is now.
Right.
But looking back over his career, I think he needed to go through everything to be exactly where he is right now.
He's now, we have in Star Wars, we look at Darth Vader from A New Hope, and we always look at his costume, right, compared to the other ones, and we say, well, he's battle damaged, battle tested. Drew McIntyre is battle tested now. He's battle damaged. This is what we're getting now.
Yeah.
He finally turned that corner now, and the CM Punk, honestly, I'm gonna just say it like this: had CM Punk not come back to WWE, I don't think McIntyre would have got to this level. It had to be something there.
Oh, that's a bold statement.
So it had to be something there to push him.
Yeah,
to this
yeah.
direction. And it all started at Survivor Series when he returned, and it started right there. So they were crafting this story right there when Punk came back. Which, if you listen to lately, in the interview, Punk says they literally signed a contract before he walked out there, and that's what it was. So for them to craft that story and like, okay, we got Punk here. People think we hate each other. Let's play on that. No different than when people thought Brett and Owen really hate each other too.
Yeah, or Punk and Seth, because Punk and Seth was the heat. Seth just got hurt.
Yeah. And they know. I mean, we saw what happened on Raw last night between you, so they know it.
Right. It's there.
Yeah, it's there. So
yeah,
I don't know. Phenomenal job to both guys. That would, to me, honestly, that was the match of the night.
I gotta agree with you 100% on everything you said.
Yeah.
Just the way they built this, and I had predicted that Drew was going to win it, and for a minute it looked like he was going to win it. But it's a good way to end that feud. And then
who's to say it ends though?
Yeah, it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. But the only way you can go from there is like a buried alive match.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in the history of the business, it's always been the cage match ends the feud, settles the feud, and just
right.
I mean, I'm just my hat's off to WWE for booking this. I mean, just the name alone, Bad Blood, and this is the show where like all the main feuds are happening right now, and just that whole Bad Blood, just I mean that. Kudos. This is why WWE needs to go back into that catalog of cool ass pay-per-view names that they got and bring them out. You got some.
I got a feeling that it's coming. Because
why?
Look at the landscape. The landscape is telling you like they're going back to an era where, and you can just feel it too. It's starting to become mainstream. More people are starting to put more eyes on it. It's becoming cool again, no pun intended, because The Rock said it. Like it's really that. It's becoming cool again. It's becoming cool to be a wrestling fan again. So the more mainstream it gets, the more you should go back into that vault and pull those things out and remind people like, hey, we did some pretty cool shit back in the day.
I mean, you got so many pay-per-view names that you can use from all the IPs that they own. A lot of those names honestly come from WCW that they keep using. I mean, why Halloween Havoc isn't utilized on the main roster? I don't understand that. It seems like they do a lot more with those names on the NXT brand than they do on the main roster brand. But I'm thinking they need to utilize some of these names. I mean,
I agree.
There's no reason why. I mean, let's say for instance, I mean, how does it sound? WWE Mayhem or WWE Uncensored or something like that. You have so many names that you can use that you're not using. And one of them, my God, this is the one that comes right to me right now. Starrcade.
Oh.
How is Starrcade? I mean, even on NXT Starrcade.
Starrcade, yeah. Or how about WWE Uncensored on Netflix?
You could do it.
Because you could pull no punches, and that would be something crazy.
Yeah, because WCW had uncensored, but it wasn't really uncensored,
right?
But you get the point. They have a whole bunch of names that they can use. I mean, then there's also the ECW names they could use. I think they do utilize Heatwave, and
they do for NXT. Yeah.
A lot. So a lot of it, like I said, a lot of the names they use from the past are done on NXT, but I think a lot of people would be like, "Oh, this is cool." Like if you're the main roster, like oh shit, wow, they're bringing back Starrcade. We can actually go to a Starrcade, event. I mean, I think that would be kind of cool to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then also, we'll get further. It's kind of what we were talking about earlier, but we'll get into it.
Most definitely. Now we're gonna jump into some Raw talk, but before we do that, I got a guest we need to bring in. We kept them waiting long enough.
Yeah.
Everybody, welcome to the show. Always first in line from the Totowa chapter of the Busted Open Nation and the newest member of ISPW, Mr. Totowa Tom. What is up, sir? How you doing? Welcome to the show.
I've been waiting to come on this show for months, Kelvin. You know that. I have been asking. I have been begging. I have been pleading.
Well,
Frankie D, you don't know this. I am the biggest mark when it comes to Star Wars. I have been asking to come on when you guys talk about Star Wars.
Are you sure you're the biggest mark? Because you see what's standing behind me.
Yeah, it's going to be a contest. It's going to be a contest tonight.
That's true. But thank you very much,
Yeah.
both of you, for having Totowa Tom on today.
No problem,
man. No problem, man. Thank you for your time. So while we move along in the conversation, let's talk about Raw and the transition from 3 hours to 2 hours. Totowa Tom, I'm going to go with you first. What are your thoughts on the overall change of the show, the feel of the show, now that Raw is gone from 3 to 2 hours?
I absolutely love it. I did hear some commentary that was going on before the show went on, where the last maybe half hour or hour was rushed a bit because of the first hour. That's fine. I don't mind them cutting down the length of the matches. I'm not big into every single match being 25 minutes long. I think only your main events should go that long. I think you can get enough out of everybody within 5 to 7 minutes long. And I'm being straight. I mean, that's my honest feeling. I actually miss the squash matches, or the enhancement talent matches. I miss that because it builds the characters, gets a local indie guy into the ring. He can put on a few moves himself. I remember seeing the Hardys on Raw when they first showed up, and I was like, oh, they were just two enhancement talents. And I was like, yeah, those guys are pretty darn good. And sure enough, they're Hall of Famers now. I don't mind it going to 2 hours. And I got to be honest with you guys. When we were younger, think about this. When we were younger, you'd have an hour on Saturday, you'd have an hour on Sunday, right? That afforded you time to watch NWA. That afforded you time to watch world-class wrestling, because I got that. Don't ask me how, but I was watching the Von Erichs, I was watching Michael PSAs, and I was watching Gino Hernandez and Chris Adams when I was like 14 years old. So I don't know how I got it, whether it was ESPN. I got those shows. I was able to watch other talent. And the reason why I bring that up is because we have so many promotions nowadays. We have so many hours. It's a full-time job just to watch WWE and AEW. I don't have time to watch MLW. I would love to. I would love to watch NWA. I would love to watch NXT. There's just not enough time in the day. Going back to 2 hours, hell, go back to 1 hour and just do like a couple shows a week.
I like that. I like that idea. I actually do like that idea. Because, back in the day, picking and choosing was you had the time. And even after last night, it kind of felt weird because you had that extra hour. So it's like, oh, okay. Now what? Now what do I do? Now, going before the show, I said that, the show felt rushed for me. It was, you had stuff breathing a lot more with that third hour. They were starting to tell better stories on Raw with that third hour because you had the talent to push. And then last night you cut it off. Now you're throwing a 10 woman tag team match out there. And it didn't really make sense to me why they did that, especially at the time that they did that. And it's like, that's something they have to work on. And I know they will. I know they'll eventually get it right. But that was just some things that I wanted more out of that show last night because it felt, to me, and I'll just be honest, it felt like an AEW show. It felt rushed in that last hour, very much. They set it up nicely, but then it was just like, we had a plan for this hour, but not this hour. So we're just going to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. But I know they'll get it right. Frankie D, what you got?
I mean, I agree. I mean, as Tom was mentioning here, back in the day, it was for me. I watched wrestling challenge, on Sundays and watch superstars on Saturday. But then as the 90s went further along, and poor folk like me got cable, I was able to watch WCW Nitro and WCW Saturday Night. It was always 3:05 for us on the West Coast on TBS. But then I would also watch WCW Pro Wrestling, which came on Sunday on TBS, and then Thunder, and then it was Shotgun Saturday Nights, and then Sunday Night Heat, when Sunday Night Heat was actually a good show and not a B show that it would become. So
Right.
then let's further go on, guys. Velocity, remember that one? Or
Sure.
Confidential, remember that? And how about this one? WWE Excess. That's short
Yeah.
lived show. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So the format here that we're talking about for Raw, I forgot. I was texting you, Blak, about this, and you mentioned that it felt like an AEW show, and I did not comprehend exactly what you meant by that. And then I realized, wait a minute, Raw actually went to 2 hours.
Yeah.
So what it comes down to is that, and I was mentioning you, I sent several messages about, they didn't do this on the show, but they got this on YouTube and social media. So what they did was they cut out a lot of their backstage segments and they put them on social media, which I actually liked that, because at first I was confused as to why are they doing this with the Miz and R-Truth? Why is this not on the show? Then I went and saw it. I'm like, oh, this is what they're doing now. I love that, because you're furthering the stories for people who are not necessarily watching Raw, and I can go on YouTube and I'm still able to follow what's going on. I like that format change. I'm digging that, because even though the story is not on the main show, I can still go find the story. I can still, as a casual viewer, find out, hey, why is Xavier Woods acting like he's acting? What
Yeah.
happened? Cause this, you know what I mean? Which I'm just my personal take. I'm digging the Xavier Woods heel turn that's happening. I'm digging it. It's about time. And if you notice, the guy's wearing black.
I agree with that. Now, here's an interesting tidbit. Let's go back to Bad Blood for a minute, because I totally was on the day. I was like, Cody Rhodes is turning.
yeah.
I was like, Cody is turning.
Yeah.
All the signs were there. I feel like they slighted me just because they knew I knew. but Cody did something interesting during that show, and it was the wardrobe choice. Cody was wearing red and gold.
Okay.
And I was just like,
Yeah, I know what you're getting at. When you text me that, I'm like, I said, are you really going Bash in the Beach 96 with this?
Yes.
Are you thinking Hogan?
Yes. And it was there, but they did a lot of things in that match to where I was like, somebody's gonna turn, and nobody did. And they kept pushing the button, but not really going there. And then when The Rock came out, I was really like, somebody's about to get jumped on or something. Something's about to happen that I'm not ready for.
Yeah,
nothing happened.
We talked about this previously about what they could have done with this, and one of the things that I remember was they could have brought that cell down.
They could have. They could have.
You could have brought the cell down, added something with the Hell in a Cell, and then also Hikuleo.
Right. I thought he was going to debut.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to debut, but he didn't. So we got what we got. But I think that's going to lead us to a Bloodline versus Bloodline
Survivor Series.
Yeah, I think that's where they're going with it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man,
That'll be
of good
fun.
Stuff. Yeah, lots of good stuff coming down the pipeline from WWE. Lots of good stuff. So let's jump into the meat and the potatoes.
Okay.
We're talking some Star Wars tonight, and I had some stuff planned out, and I wanted to ask a question. I'm going to start with this one, so it's not a surprise. Frank D, me and you kind of talked about this before, but I wanted to add a little wrinkle. The Duel of the Fates, pivotal battle in the history of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right? I went back and watched The Phantom Menace, and I came back with a question. The question was, what would have happened if Obi-Wan Kenobi wasn't knocked off the platform and he was able to keep chase, but instead of Qui-Gon being locked up with Darth Maul, what if it were Obi-Wan and Obi-Wan actually died and Qui-Gon was the one to kill Darth Maul? What would have happened then? I'll leave the floor open. Tom, I'm going to let you answer this one first.
It's quite frankly the most pivotal storyline in the entire Star Wars saga. When you look at episode 1 and then you ended at episode 6. I'm not counting 7, 8, and 9 for this.
We don't need
I'm gonna go 1 through 6. Not my words, by the way, what I'm about to say. One of the greatest Star Wars hands out there. He's more than a hand. He's like second only to George Lucas, and that would be Dave Filoni, who I respect and I admire for what he's done in the Star Wars lore. I think his take on the animated projects is some of the best Star Wars I've ever seen. But enough of that. Duel of the Fates. What happens? Well, if you think about it, the fate of the galaxy was happening when Qui-Gon was fighting Darth Maul. And the fact that Qui-Gon was the one to succumb changed the entire universe. Anakin was in tight with Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon believed in the living force, and Anakin was to be trained by Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan never really he was not on board with Anakin. In the very beginning, he called him a pathetic life form, just like he called Jar Jar one. And Obi-Wan promised to train Anakin. He didn't want to. He promised. And that turned the entire universe on its ass. Sorry, but so to speak. So I think if Qui-Gon is the one to train Anakin, I think the whole universe changes and Anakin becomes the Jedi he always wanted to be.
Okay, interesting answer. Frank D?
Well, so let me start by saying that
He's not a Filoni fan.
I used to like Felonious.
Okay.
But then the acolyte happened.
I hear you.
And so I'm kind of like I'm not on board because for them to put Yoda in that show and to put Ki-Adi-Mundi in that show
And Plagueis
in that show shows me that okay, Filoni, you don't respect the lore. You were George Lucas's apprentice, and you let this happen. So my confidence in him is shaken. Although I will give the man credit. I will put him over for this because I've been putting him over for this. Even when people say, "Oh, you're wrong about this." No, I am not. Dave Filoni produced one of the greatest episodes of any Disney Plus Star Wars show I ever saw, and it is called Shadow Warrior Ahsoka with Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka. When he did that, when he did that episode there, okay, he basically Anakin teaching Ahsoka that final lesson, that phenomenal storytelling right there. That I enjoyed that. Okay, I will never forgive you though for the acolyte. Now, moving on from that, I do agree that if Qui-Gon had trained Anakin, I don't believe that Palpatine would have been able to have that much influence over a young Anakin. Obi-Wan did not want him. He said it. He said he like Tom said, he called him another pathetic life form. He was not they didn't like Anakin. Mace Windu from day one did not like Anakin.
Trust him. Yep.
Didn't trust him. Did not like him. Yoda was the same way because of the attachment issues and just him thinking about his mother. So Anakin was already screwed. And then you think about all the younglings that made fun of him at the Jedi Temple when he was training and how he was older than them and all that. And it was just a lot of stuff building up. But there was one person there that befriended him that was like, always that devil on his shoulder. Hey, I got you, Anakin. You're great. I'm going to take you to this club and I'm going to show you how things happen. That was Palpatine. Palpatine was such a big influence there because Obi-Wan was still and I know he's an adult, but he's still kind of a young man on his own because he isn't. He was forced into this. Qui-Gon, Qui-Gon made him promise, hey, train the boy, he will bring balance to the
Mm.
Force. Yeah, like you said, he didn't want to do it. He says, I'm going to honor Master Qui-Gon's wish. It's happened. So yes, basically the fate of the galaxy was there, and
Yep.
it had. I mean, that's like what you're talking about. Blak is a what if scenario situation.
Right.
We have a
Right.
lot of those in Star Wars, like what ifs. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I agree with you. Like if Qui-Gon had trained Anakin, there would have probably been no Darth Vader, and then he would have had to Palpatine would have to be looking for another apprentice because Palpatine was always in the shadows, even going all the way back to Plagueis. You know, I mean, he killed his own master in his sleep, got him drunk, and killed him. Because I guess that's the way the Sith works. The rule of two,
Yeah.
one to yield the power, one to crave it. You know what I mean? So,
Awesome answers, man. My thing about it was, I think Qui-Gon saw the conflict in Anakin Skywalker, and rather than try to make him become a Jedi, I think his focus would have been trying to balance the Force inside Anakin to where you can show emotion and you can be in control of yourself while you do that. And I don't think that would have been a popular decision. So I would have wanted to see what would have happened to the Jedi Order had Qui-Gon actually been able to train Anakin Skywalker. That would have been a really interesting story. Because
it's possible that Qui-Gon would have left the Jedi Order if needed.
Very much
in order to train Anakin. They could have like gone off on their own, maybe turning dark somewhere that way, because fate and destiny are sometimes unavoidable. I think maybe if you really peel this onion back, Kelvin, and you look at it, maybe at the end of the day, Anakin has to go bad no matter what, because that's inevitably what happens. How you get there doesn't matter, but in the end of the day, he does bring balance to the Force in some kind of weird way by becoming the most evil, ruthless killer in the entire galaxy.
but
I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah. And I was thinking like thinking about this, and I'm like, I forget that even with them doing with them training a young Anakin Skywalker, remember Count Dooku is always there. Dooku is the next apprentice to Sidious. He becomes Darth Tyrannus. So, and a lot of that had to be so. As we found out in Tales of the Jedi, Dooku was pissed when Qui-Gon was killed. He went to Sidious and said, "You've gone too far. You let Maul kill him." He says, "You lost an apprentice. Now so did I. All for the greater good." Pretty much what he said. Palpatine tells him. So I'm like, Palpatine. Palpatine is this. I was having this conversation the other day with someone. There are no redeeming qualities at all about Sheev Palpatine. None whatsoever. It's like the Joker. There are no redeeming qualities. The dude is just pure evil. You know what I mean? Like there is no turning Palpatine. Palpatine doesn't see the light side. He's a Sith. His own father, hated his guts. You know what I'm saying? Palpatine killed his own father. Using the Force. So that's just how it goes. So Palpatine, even if he couldn't get his hooks into Anakin, I think eventually, like Tom says here, eventually Anakin was always he was prophesied to bring balance to the Force, but it was never shown how that would happen. We didn't know how that would happen. It's like they said in Revenge of the Sith, a prophecy misread could have been, is what Yoda says. So we don't. We just know he's the chosen one to bring balance to the Force, but we don't know how he is to accomplish this. And I think everything has happened. The Jedi have to fall in order for there to bring balance to the Force.
Right.
And we saw this throughout the movies.
I would love to see a what if for Star Wars. You know how they have what if for Marvel?
Yeah.
And they talked about even in the Marvel movies, I think it was Endgame when they said even if they went back in time, they couldn't like kill Adolf Hitler when he was a baby. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not how time works.
Right.
Apparently, that already had happened. So
it had to happen.
So I think Anakin was eventually going to turn to the dark side no matter what. But you bring up a great point. I love what ifs because I'm a big Marvel and DC guy as well. So I would love to see Star Wars do some what ifs like what you just said. I think it would be very interesting.
I think they're going to do that. They
I hope they
actually,
do.
they were talking about that. I think that's one of the things that they're coming out with. I believe next year,
Oh, okay.
was a what if series that they're working on because they have
That
this
would be awesome.
they have this Lego movie that they got coming out.
Hmm.
Where they're going by the fan fiction of Jar Jar Binks as a Sith, and they're gonna mention how Luke Skywalker tried to kill Kylo Ren. All these different things are gonna
Right.
happen. Like the universe is gonna be turned upside down. So the what if scenario, because people talk about this all the time, like what if Palpatine had become a Jedi?
Sure.
What
Ooh,
if he went to the light side?
yeah,
What if Padme had joined Anakin
Right.
and they ruled the galaxy together? You know what I mean?
Right.
Just
Right.
these different conversations here.
Right.
It's very interesting stuff.
Hey,
yeah.
before we move on to the next topic, one last thing about Duel of the Fates. Something that's always bothered me about that movie. If you recall, in the very opening scene when Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon were fighting the battle droids, they used supersonic speed to get out of the pursuit of them. Do you recall that? They went to go shoot at them when they were inside the Trade Federation battleship, and then all of a sudden you see Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, they're like a blur, right? They
Yeah,
kind of just like boop, they take off, they're gone. They use force speed,
Yeah.
whatever. What's
yeah.
always bothered me is why didn't Obi-Wan use that super speed to catch up to Qui-Gon when he was fighting Darth Vader, Darth Maul, and those things were flying down, those tractor beams. Why did he how did he get caught on the last one? He should have been able to use that super speed and just get there with him.
I don't think they were thinking that far. I mean, they were so dude. If you watch the behind the scenes documentary of
Mm,
the Phantom Menace, they were
mhm,
so worried about that pod race and
mm.
making sure that was right and getting all the sounds together and all that. I think that's one of the things. Yeah, I get what you're
Okay.
saying though. Like, how come
Yeah,
he didn't use super speed to you could have prevented this.
right.
You know what I mean? But
Very
it's
much
also
Yeah.
so.
it's also at the same time. It's like if you're Qui-Gon Jinn, you're like, well, damn, dude. Sabine Wren survives. Um, what the third sister gets stabbed twice and she survives, but I'm dead.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I don't get that.
More evidence of Obi-Wan should have been one.
Hmm,
It should have been you.
hmm,
But I think, and you guys are right. I think he probably eventually goes dark anyway,
right.
because even though that battle itself is pivotal to who he becomes, the edge for Anakin Skywalker is his mother dying.
Hmm.
There's no one there to guide him through that,
Right.
or at least tell him like what you're feeling is normal. Grief is normal. Like it's okay to be this way, but taking it out isn't going to bring your mother back. No one was there for him in that manner.
the
So
Jedi didn't even help him
no, they
with
didn't.
that. I mean, he wanted to go visit his mother. The Jedi didn't even help him in any of this stuff. Like once he left his mother, that was it. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And it's
He
like
was already on the dark
it
side.
was already. It was kind of like he had these emotions. I mean, Anakin just had a rough life. I mean, as a slave in Tatooine. I mean, the guy had it. I mean, the kid had it rough. You know what I mean? So it's like, I mean, give some sympathy to what the guy went through. Like that's what George says. George says the six movies he created is called the tragedy of Darth Vader is what he calls it. Because it is. It's a tragedy of Vader. You're seeing basically this kid who has so much. He had big dreams of becoming a Jedi. He wanted to be a Jedi so bad. Big dreams of doing this, and then to be manipulated by Palpatine, who had his own agenda, which is to destroy the Jedi, take
Mm,
over, and then, as I mentioned to you before, the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. Um, I believe it's actually built on top of a Sith Temple. Is underneath it. So,
Right, right.
which is which is crazy to me. But that's why Palpatine a lot of times he was able to mask a lot of stuff he was doing.
mm.
Because he was able to do that. Like they never sensed anything with Palpatine. Like he was there, and it's like Yoda's there, Mace Windu's there. They don't sense a damn thing because he's so able. He was able to hide it. He's a pop. Like there's two sides to him. Palpatine wanted to be the politician from Naboo that cared about the people. And he loved the people. He was a common man to people. He hated the people. He loathed the people. That's not, he didn't, yeah. So he did not, he didn't like people, or he just, yeah. Anakin's as you mentioned, his Anakin wanted to save everybody.
Yep.
Anakin
Right,
loved everybody.
right.
He was afraid to lose
Yep.
anyone, and that played a part in that. And I think Palpatine was, I think Palpatine was doing, and then on top of that too. I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but the original script for Revenge of the Sith that they didn't use, and there's a lot of it you can see in the movie. The original story they were going to go for was Palpatine put it in Anakin's head that Obi-Wan and Padme were having an affair.
You're right.
And that's what the distrust came from. So if you remember one
Mm,
scene on the couch, Anakin sitting there and he was like, Obi-Wan was here.
Right.
But there's no context to why, like, well, he's thinking like Obi-Wan, I know he was here. I can feel that his presence was here. They cut all that stuff out of the movie because it was originally he thought they were sleeping together because that's what Palpatine told him. If you look at some of the
mm.
some of the behind it some of the
Deleted scenes.
deleted scenes, he's talking about I don't trust her. And Anakin is like telling Palpatine, like, I don't think she, she's not trustworthy. Yeah, I don't trust her, Anakin. There's something about her.
Right.
She's holding something from me. He's already putting the fix in there. So already
Yep.
the distrust is there. And I think he's putting thoughts in his head too.
Long-term storytelling.
Preying
Yeah.
on the insecurity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Good
don't like
job,
that.
man.
I don't like that idea though. I don't like that because I think that would have been like, first of all, he would have took Star Wars in a path that it didn't need to go into, as far as like, okay, now we're bringing like real world issues as far as like, you know, affairs and all that type of stuff. I don't think that was needed. I think the story they went through of him having premonitions about her dying in childbirth is a much better story
Mm.
because you're the person who causes it,
Right.
Right.
essentially.
Well, it was that compounded by the death of his mother. Like
Right.
I've already lost too much. And if
Yeah.
you're telling me that I can bring somebody back from the dead, or I could stop somebody from dying when
Right.
I'm already having visions of the person I love the most dying, absolutely. Bring me over to the dark side so I can stop this.
But he
And it's
never wanted to go to the dark side though.
Mm.
He
Right.
didn't want to do that. I mean, even at we'll move on here, but even in that scene with Mace Windu, he's still trying to do the right thing. He says
Yep.
he must stand trial. He's like,
Right.
he said,
Right.
I need him. And Palpatine is playing on this like he's so defensive. And then if you like, they have security cameras inside, right, where Palpatine was recording all this and was manipulative to show that he was attacked by the Jedi.
Yep.
This is the Jedi. They are traitors to the Republic. This is all Palpatine made this whole thing like they tried to take over. He said that's why he says I told you the Jedi are taking over. That was the whole thing because he was plotting this shit. If you look in the scenes where when Anakin comes in, Palpatine's sitting in the chair, right? He's looking at something on the screen. It's the Death Star. He's
Mm.
already planning the Death Star right there. He's already doing it, and he turns it off when Anakin comes in, and that's when Anakin says, "You're the Sith Lord." This is all these things that Palpatine was plotting with Dooku, and he's like, "Okay." It's like, "Good, Anakin, good. Kill him. Kill him
Mhm.
now. You're useless now because I got you where I need you to go to. You already killed the sand people. Now kill this asshole right here."
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, Tom, what you got, man?
For what? What's the question?
Anything you want to add on?
Oh. Add on to that. Jeez. I did have something, but I lost it. I'm sorry.
All right, no, that's all
Force
right.
is not strong with me right now.
That's all right. That's all right. Let's go to the next topic. Another theory.
Well, we had some comments up there. What was the comments?
Oh yeah, we do. We have a bunch actually. So Blake said between his grief and hatred for Sand and made him Vader. And then Jen says she read about that. Glad they didn't bank on it, talking about the affair and the deleted scenes.
Yeah.
Vader and Wanda's mom, from Marvel, grief and love, power are very similar. That's actually very true.
Yep.
That's actually very true. And then Jen says, "I wish the Death Star would take some planning. Yeah, years of planning.
Yeah,
It
and that's
did.
what he was doing. That's what the Sith do. The Sith are always in the shadows. They were always in the shadows. As we saw episode 9, they said somehow Palpatine's returned. Palpatine was always there. I mean, the whole cloning process that they were doing. What do they call it? Project Necromancer. That's what they were working on. Like that's what Snoke essentially is. He's like, they. That's what it is.
Snoke is a clone of Palpatine, right?
Yeah, it's a failed clone of Palpatine.
Yeah.
That's what Snoke is. So I mean, they were always on Exegol, which is this, Sith, pretty much Sith territory. They were
Right.
all that's where Palpatine was always there. Palpatine was playing the shadows. When Vader threw him down to shoot in Return of the Jedi, he didn't do anything. He just transferred his essence. That's all it was. He was
Yeah, I didn't
always
like
there.
that.
I didn't like it
That's
either. I
that
didn't like it
lost
either.
me though.
Yeah, I get you. Trust me. That whole
Yeah.
sequel trilogy outside the Force Awakens lost me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It
I
kind of
think we're
ruined.
all in agreement with that one.
Yeah, 40 years of storytelling was just killed with that one scene.
Well,
I would have had Plagueis come back for the last movie.
Yeah.
Plagueis makes sense because Plagueis finally figured out how to cheat death, and maybe Palpatine never killed Plagueis, and Plagueis was watching things from behind the scenes the whole time, and then chose his place to come back. I just thought it would have made it for better storytelling because then you could have tied in Episode 9 to Episode 3 when Darth Plagueis was first announced. It just would have made better sense to me.
That
you know
would
what
have
else
been.
cool.
What's
that's
that?
Sorry?
cool. You know what else they could have done too? I was just thinking about.
Mm.
They could have brought back Mace Windu in Rise
We
of
don't know
Skywalker.
what happened to him, right?
Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson says he's alive. He didn't die.
Never confirmed he died. Right.
Yep.
Never confirmed he died.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good comment. Palpatine was for the movie fans.
Palpatine was basically what we call in the wrestling business lazy booking. Lazy. That's what it was. It was basically J.J. Abrams comes
Yeah.
in, and J.J. Abrams has to fix what Rian Johnson did with The Last Jedi. He has to try to tie all this stuff together. I think J.J. had a plan, and then him and Kathleen Kennedy or something butted heads, and he was gone. He had to come back and try to fix this. That's why in that movie, Rise of Skywalker, they put Kylo Ren's mask back together because they were pissed off about why did you guys destroy the mask? We spent all this time trying to find the right mask for Kylo Ren, and then in The Last Jedi, you guys destroyed the mask.
Right.
So they were pissed about that. So basically, the way Adam Driver explains it too, real quick, Adam Driver explains it that he was never supposed to have a redemption story in there. He was supposed to go further into the dark side, is what he was. I mean, is there any way to redeem somebody who kills his own father?
Well,
You know what I mean?
no.
I mean, he says, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. He killed Han Solo.
Right.
So how do you come
Right.
back from that? You know what I mean? I
Right.
was telling my wife, I was like, which one is worse? I mean, this is gonna sound terrible. Which one's worse? Anakin killing the younglings or Kylo Ren killing his father?
It's Anakin killing the younglings.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think so? I don't
They've
know.
been trying to
yeah.
They've been trying to kill them forever. I mean, if you go back to Rebels and you go back to even Clone Wars, they've been trying to kill Force sensitives as soon as they're born.
Yeah.
That's true too. Yeah.
That's what the Inquisitors were. So I think as far as the storytelling, because that's something we know Anakin did it, but it was off screen. We see this happen. We
Right.
see Han.
Right.
We see Han
Right.
Solo, die at the hands of his own son. So it's like, how do you? That was supposed to be like there's no coming back from that. You know what I mean? And then I don't know. We can have a whole damn podcast on this stuff.
Plus, the one character that I thought had a lot of gravitas towards him was Snoke, and they kind of just killed him, like surprisingly. And I thought that would have been the character that we would have seen, leading the charge in the third installment, and then we finally kill him at the end. But Rian Johnson had other ideas, and right now it's unfortunate. But Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are trying to rewrite history with all these prequels to try and make sense of what happened with the clone process. It's a shame, but that's what they're doing.
Right. I said that last week. Like that's what I felt like they were doing.
Yeah, they're trying to. We saw this in the Bad Batch as well.
Right.
Trying to connect the dots here. Jon Favreau has a very big task ahead of him. In this, basically, he's just trying to bring the fandom back together because we went divided with The Last Jedi. It just Rogue One and The Force Awakens are the only two projects from Disney Star Wars that actually has made money. Okay, a lot of people crap on Solo, but Solo is not a bad film.
Not bad at all.
It came out at the wrong time. It came out right after The Last Jedi, and just Jon Favreau has to essentially what he was able to do with Mandalorian season 2 was fix Luke Skywalker.
Right.
to bring him back
Right.
to prominence. He did that, and it's like now so much time has gone by, and then Mandalorian season 3 was not very well received.
Right.
I mean, and now they're trying to bring the original trio back in the new movie he's going to be producing.
Hmm.
I don't know, man. It's like now Harrison Ford is trying to kind of stop that somewhat. He doesn't want to do it.
Right.
I don't know. It's just they have a lot of stuff they gotta fix it, and it all started with Ryan Johnson and and Kathleen Kennedy's just her lack of understanding of
Yes.
what George did. George gave Disney the blueprint for 7, 8, 9. He wrote it,
Yep.
and they didn't even use it. So now Favreau, I think Favreau is actually, I think he may have looked at George's stuff and is trying to, how can we do this? How
Mm.
can we fix this and try to bring this back to prominence? It all starts, like, people need to realize all these shows that's coming out, Skeleton Crew, all this stuff connects. We're all
Right.
it doesn't, anything they do, it doesn't matter at this point. It's
Right.
the Skeleton Crew, it's the Mandalorian Grogu, it's Ahsoka season 2. All of this connects to the sequel trilogy.
I've had no problem with anything animation wise, but I'll tell you what I have had a problem with, and I might be.
Oh.
It may not sound like I'm a Dave Filoni fan, but I am. But
Yeah.
I did not like Ahsoka at all.
Huh.
I did not like Kenobi at all.
Oh yeah.
I didn't like season 3 of Mandalorian at all.
No one did.
I didn't like The Acolyte at all. What I did like very much, and I thought was probably some of the best Star Wars I've seen in a long time, was Andor. I thought it was tremendous.
Yes.
You
Had
know
no
what?
Jedi in it.
Everybody says
Yeah,
that.
no Jedi were in it. It was just tremendous.
Yeah.
My problem, I think, with Ahsoka could be what's her name? I'm missing it. Oh, famous actress. What's her name? Ahsoka. I didn't like
Rosario
her
Dawson.
Yes, Rosario Dawson. I love her in everything she does, pretty much, but I didn't like her character take on Ahsoka, or maybe I'm missing it because I think maybe she was portraying Ahsoka as someone who has been through a lot, and she just came across as being too stoic for me, without any,
Hmm.
there wasn't any bubbly effervescence that the previous owner of the character had. I had a problem connecting with her. I do want to mention one thing, and I don't know if you guys have ever mentioned it before. There is a cut of Kenobi out there, which is 2 hours long.
Patterson cut.
That some dude did.
Yes, Patterson cut.
Yes, exactly. Tremendous. If you get a
Yeah.
chance, watch it. I mean,
Hmm.
it totally changes everything. And he actually just added a few things to it in some cases. In other cases, he removed things.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful 2-hour movie.
Well, he did the same thing for Ahsoka as well.
Did he really?
Yes, and dude,
I didn't hear that.
listen to this. So the scene where Anakin is fighting Ahsoka,
Right.
he went back to Malachor in that scene.
He went back to what?
He went back to Malachor from. You remember in the scene in
Oh.
Rebels,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Twilight of the Apprentice?
Okay.
He put that in there, in their World Between Worlds scene. That's what he has in there. They're fighting in that. So
he did animation somehow.
yeah. He took he took that thing there with Ahsoka and Anakin live action. He took that scene from Rebels and put that there, and that's what they're
Brilliant.
fighting in. So
Brilliant.
they're not fighting in the World Between Worlds. He just this guy does a lot of shit.
Brilliant.
Let's see, what is this?
To me, a lot of Jedis are stoic. Even though she didn't complete her training, she did have control over her emotions, more so than Anakin. It's a true statement.
That's debatable because, I mean, she that's debatable. I mean, and it goes back to what Tom's talking about Rosario Dawson's portrayal of Ahsoka, and Ahsoka's like, she's been through some shit. You could tell.
Yeah.
So
Right. But yeah, not showing the conflict.
right
Is
and that's what Anakin. I think that's what Anakin's lesson is. Her, like, woman, get over it. You need to get over all this stuff that you got going on here because I mean, she's holding her emotions, but she's really not because she's not letting anybody in. She's not accepting that the Force. This is what it was supposed to be. And then that one scene in there when she's talking to Anakin and she's like, "You are, you're dangerous. You're more dangerous than anybody realized." So that's what he says. Oh, this is what this is about. Me becoming Vader. This is what because you couldn't save me. I couldn't be saved. You know what I mean? Anakin controls these emotions very well, as we saw in Ahsoka. He controls it because he's able to control the light side and the dark side. You know what I mean? Anakin pretty much, if you go into the arc where I think they're going with Ahsoka, the Mortis arc, Anakin is basically now the father. That's what Anakin.
Mm,
That's what Anakin is. He is.
mm,
He is finally the balance of the Force. He control. He tried with her. He tried with her in that show. He tried to bring Ahsoka. He was Anakin. He was the Jedi from the Clone Wars. He's talking to her. He's putting over Obi-Wan. You know, Obi-Wan taught me this, and Obi-Wan taught me that. He's telling her. And then, she wasn't listening to him. So then he has to turn into Vader. He said, basically, I gave you a choice to live or die. Now, you're not listening to me. I'm not getting through to you, right? Okay, so now I'm going to switch it up to, now I got to become Vader, and now I got to go after you.
mm.
And then when she was able to flip it around again, guess what happens? Anakin turns back into Anakin. He went from Vader to Anakin. He can control his emotions now. He can control. He has that balance that he never had before. He can do it now. And one thing that I think that and I've said this many times on this show, one thing I would love to see that they have not done, we have got to see on screen Hayden Christensen and Mark Hamill on screen.
Hmm.
Force Ghost Anakin talking to Luke Skywalker.
I love that. Yeah.
We
That'd
gotta
be
have
awesome.
We gotta
That'd
have
be awesome.
You know what I mean? But yeah,
That would be awesome.
like she just said there, he achieved this after death. Yes, because he no longer had a Palpatine that's manipulative. I have a son that I didn't know I had. I have kids that I didn't know I had. I became I lost everything. I
Kids
thought
change you.
I thought I killed my wife. You fucking
Yeah.
lied to me. That you said that I did all this. So and how did he found out way before Palpatine told him in Empire Strikes Back. Boba Fett told him that he says you found the name Skywalker.
Right.
That's when you knew I have this asshole lied to me. Like, okay, now I see what it is. Yeah, he lied to me. So yeah, man, there's so many things that they can explore because they're talking about right now with a possible Kenobi season 2 is pretty much about to happen. That they're
Hmm.
already talking about this. So they're talking about Ewan McGregor basically said at LA Comic Con the other day that they are basically in early development for season 2 of Kenobi. So kind of like where do you go with the story, right? For Kenobi,
Right.
all these other things that was going on. Vader sending Boba Fett to do things. You know what I mean? Keep these
Right.
two apart, leading up
Right.
to a New Hope.
Right.
Nice. Real
Yeah.
quick,
Yeah.
before we go to the next subject.
Yeah.
Are you going to StarCon?
StarCon?
Yeah.
What
It's
is
in
that?
San Antonio.
Oh, you mean SpaceCon?
I mean SpaceCon, yeah, my bad.
Probably not.
Okay. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of Star Wars people gonna be there.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Like, I'll tell you some stuff off the show about that. Yeah, I heard some stuff from a buddy of mine that has don't want to tell you about the one who has the connection inside Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about some stuff, and yeah, I'll tell you about SpaceCon and Big Texas Comic Con too, because that's another one that's coming up this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. All right. So next subject. We mentioned them briefly, but I wanted to ask the question. Me and Frank D already debated a little bit about this one. Said I had some counterpoints to it, but let's see what Totowa Tom thinks about it. Jar Jar Binks. Was he really clumsy, or was that a cover for him being a Sith and a mastermind behind the fall of the Jedi?
I refuse to believe that. I know they've teased it. I saw one of the Clone Wars episodes where they actually put a cloak on him to make him look like a Sith Lord. And I know there's been talk about it that everything he does is because of the Force, his clumsiness. But I just think that's internet chatter, and I think that just basically took a life of its own. I refuse to believe that he could be a Sith Lord.
Okay. Go ahead, Frank D.
Yeah, me and Tom are in complete agreement here. This was something that fans came up with, okay, for years, and then Lucasfilm was like, "Oh, that's kind of stupid, but we'll go with it." So that's why they're doing it with this Lego movie. Jar Jar Binks is not a Sith. The downfall of the Jedi was masterminded by Palpatine. That's what it was. Point blank. Palpatine went through 3 apprentices to get this done. That's what he wanted. He wanted to rule. He hated the Jedi. He respected Yoda. Hated the Jedi. That's what it was. It was Palpatine. All started from Plagueis. Him and Plagueis working together. Plagueis wasn't this dude that's hiding in caves and shit. This guy had money. He had influence. You know what I mean? It wasn't what they portrayed him in The Acolyte. He's not sitting up here watching in the shadows. No, he watched in the shadows, but he had influence, money, politician. He played politics.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, this was the plan all along. And then he got him drunk. They celebrated one night, and he gets him drunk, and then Palpatine kills him. Because once again, rule of 2: one to yield the power, one to crave it. Palpatine wanted the power, so then Palpatine becomes, Senator of Naboo. He has all plans.
Think of the patience he had too. There's some scenes if you look back in Revenge of the Sith, where he's hanging by a thread in the elevator shaft with Obi-Wan and Anakin, or the ship that they're on is like crash landing into Coruscant. Like, think of the patience he had. Like, you would think, like, if he thought he was going to die, he would use some of his dark side force to help in the situation. But not once did he ever show his hand and say, like, I can use the force.
Yep.
It's how cool of a cucumber do you have to be in order to withhold that and not show that you're a true dark master?
Yeah, he didn't do any of that. Only time you kind of saw a little bit of that, and it's not really the power. It's just when he wanted to leave Obi-Wan there to die, and Anakin says his fate will be the same as ours. That's kind of where you kind of saw something funny about him.
Right.
I've seen people's reactions that have never watched it before, and they were like, "There's something funny about this guy. I don't trust him."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
that's what it comes down to. But no, it's just it's always that was always Palpatine's plan, was just to destroy the Jedi. He hated the Jedi, and he thought that even in Revenge of the Sith, where he uses a lightsaber, he hates lightsabers. He thinks it's beneath him to use lightsabers. He just uses lightsabers to mock them. That's what he's using it for. He hates lightsabers.
So, Blak, do you think that Jar Jar is a Sith Lord? Is that what you think?
I'm not going to say yes, but there's a lot of coincidences. He's always in the right place at the right time, making things happen. When something kind of pivotal is in play, Jar Jar is really the one ushering this in, but he just looks goofy as he does it. But he's always in the right place at the right time.
Well, because he's easily influenced. I mean, if you look at, how Palpatine was like, if only someone was here to vote me in. And so Jar Jar, it's kind of that guy. He's like kind of the liaison because he went to work for Padme's administration. So he's there. So I don't. Jar Jar is he's not a Sith. I mean, if Jar Jar is a Sith, then so was Kylo Ren. He wasn't. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a low blow.
I mean, Kylo wasn't a Sith though. He was not a Sith.
Fuck it. Let's go down the rabbit hole. I think Kylo is what Darth Vader should have been.
Okay.
I don't know about that one.
I think so, with better guidance. He was always going to walk the dark side anyway.
Let me tell you what.
But if he had better guidance, I think he would have been a more mature version of what Kylo Ren is.
So let me stop you right there. Kylo Ren was not mature.
I said a more mature version.
Yeah, well, he didn't have that. We saw, only thing I saw from the point on forward with Kylo Ren. I like the Kylo Ren character. Hey, listen, I'm doing a cosplay for my wife.
Yeah.
Kylo Ren, right? So I've had to go back and watch the sequel trilogy again. Kylo Ren was a whiny bitch.
Yep.
Okay? He throwing temper tantrums all the time about shit. No, Vader kicks his ass all day long. Like, there's no comparison, bro. Like, none. Like, no. Vader could control.
There was some of that in Vader. There was some of that in there.
Vader in the early stages, because remember, after Revenge of the Sith, there's still some Anakin there that he hates Obi-Wan.
Right.
It wasn't until Palpatine told him basically, listen, bruh, I'm getting a little sick and tired of your fascination with Kenobi and your obsession with Kenobi. We're trying to build the Empire over here, and I need you to calm that shit down. And that's when Kenobi means nothing. No, I serve only you, my master. That was it until A New Hope. You know what I'm saying? That was it.
But even before then, Anakin had this obsession with trying to be a Jedi Master, and it really pissed him off.
Yeah, but Kylo Ren didn't have that obsession. Kylo Ren's plan went awry because of a girl. This scavenger.
How is that different from Anakin?
Because
Padme fucked his brain up.
Wasn't just Padme though. It wasn't just Padme. It was Padme, but it was also all the other things that was happening to Anakin.
Right.
At training to become a Jedi.
Anakin really didn't have control over his emotions.
No, he did not. But that's what I'm saying here. He did at later on, he did control his emotions. That's why he was able to do all the shit he did in the universe.
Right.
He was able to, once he got over Kenobi, that's what it was. He had to get over Kenobi. Once he got over Kenobi, he was able to do that. It wasn't, his emotions weren't jacked up again until he found out he had a son. That's what it was. Vader buried Anakin so deep to where there was nothing there. He didn't give a shit anymore. He was no longer the hero of the Clone Wars. I'm Darth Vader now, Darth Lord of the Sith.
Right.
Kylo Ren had a plan. He had Vader's mask in there that he was talked to. It was basically an artifact that he would talk to, like show me the power of the darkness. That's what he's going for. This all gets messed up because of a girl, some scavenger, some girl that has no power. That's where it gets screwed up. And that's where the sequel trilogy goes downhill, because instead of focusing on this stormtrooper that Kylo Ren has, he's looking at this guy when they're on Jakku, and he senses something in this guy, FN2187.
Good.
Then he sees something in him. There's something about this guy. And that all gets squandered away. It was supposed to be Finn was supposed to be that Jedi. Finn was supposed to be the one that was going to be the new Jedi Academy. And then all of a sudden he gets switched to this girl. So Kylo Ren, basically, I'm going to just put it like this. Kylo Ren wanted the pussy.
You're right.
That's what it was. He got seduced by that. At least with Vader. Vader had, goals. This guy here, like some girl you even know.
He did have one of the best introductions I've ever seen, though, Kylo Ren, when he showed up on the planet. And he used the Force to hold the blaster.
Yes.
It was in midair, and I'm saying to myself, that is really cool.
Bro, that is badass. As soon as he gets off that ship, he comes in there and tells dude, look how old you become. And the guy is calling him on his shit. He's basically saying something far worse has happened to you. You know what I'm saying? Like he tells like he's like the First Order rose from the dark side. You did not. Basically, like, dude, you're cosplaying, and it's like you're not Vader. That's what he's trying to be.
Your granddad, and you're not.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to be your grandfather. Like, you're not. Please, you're cosplaying.
Good shit. Good shit. So, where did that come from? We went down a rabbit hole.
Jar Jar. We were talking about
Jar Jar. Yeah. So let's move on though. Last one. The Sith temples. We went over this earlier. Was there a Sith temple in Tatooine? Is there a possibility that there was a Sith temple on Tatooine?
Frankie D, I don't know. I don't think there was. So I don't know if it's just a question that you're coming up with, or you know something.
Well, there's a theory that there was an actual Sith temple that Plagueis himself sat at on Tatooine, which the races were a derivative of something Plagueis built as a cover.
I don't know. I mean, I know that that Plagueis and Palpatine have been trying to basically create life, and they tried to create, the ultimate being, pretty much, that they could use, and the Force said hell no, and the Force responded and created the chosen one. So I do know that. Now, as far as the Sith Temple being on Tatooine, I don't know about that one. I honestly don't know. I mean, I don't know, because if there's something like that, I mean, it could have come from the old Republic days, but I don't know.
Let me throw this out there. If there was, that means he would have visited it, right? And it meant that
Correct.
once he goes to Tatooine, he would have sensed Luke's presence. And, he never did because I don't think he ever went to Tatooine. Tatooine was the farthest what did he say in the first movie to Biggs? He said if there's a spot like that's farthest away from the center of the universe, it's Tatooine. They were saying it's very remote, and that's why he was hanging out there. So I don't think Palpatine ever went to Tatooine, or Vader for that matter.
Vader never went back to Palpatine.
No,
Vader,
he didn't.
Actually,
never
he
went back.
did.
No, he does.
He did.
He goes to
If
the
you follow
large
Shadows, of the Empire,
Yeah.
no, that was in the death. No, that was on Vader's ship. I stand corrected. I don't think Vader went to go visit Jabba. There was a conversation between Jabba and Vader. I'm just trying to think if it happened in Jabba's palace or if it was on Vader's ship. It was in between episodes 2 and 3, episodes 5 and 6. But I don't know if Shadows of the Empire is canon. So if it's not canon,
I
then
think it. I don't think
Doesn't
it's,
really happen.
I
it
don't
didn't
think
happen.
Yeah, I don't. Disney removed a lot of stuff.
That's true.
They took a lot of
They
stuff out.
picked and chose.
Yeah, but I do know that Vader does actually go back to Tatooine. He does go there. He goes to the Lars home to. I think he was gonna kill them because once he finds out that he has a son. Okay, who raised this boy? You know what I mean?
Right.
So he
Yeah.
goes and he was going to kill them, but they're already dead when
Yep.
he gets there. You know what I mean? So he's trying to get, it's a lot of stuff that goes there. Like, there's stories of Vader going to Padme's tomb and trying to find answers as to what happened to her. It's a lot of this, but this is all this is all in the comics and stuff like
We're
that.
getting deep.
Right,
Yeah, we're getting
right.
deep.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of shit that happens. A lot of shit happens that's not in the movies that all ties in together. That
Right.
they could make a whole nother show on.
Right, correct. Now, Jeff brings up a good point. There was a Jedi Temple on Coruscant that was built on top of a Sith Temple. We talked about this offline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that's why.
Which is how
Palpatine
Palpatine was able.
Yeah, to mask himself and to do a lot of stuff that he was on. I mean, they never sensed any of it. You know what I mean? That's why, as soon as it was over, shit, Palpatine took that. He took it over. He took over the Jedi Temple because this is ours to begin with. It was the Sith.
Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, gentlemen, we've come to the part of the show where we give our final thoughts. I'm going to start with you, Totowa Tom. First and foremost, man, thank you for coming on the show tonight. This was awesome. We got to have you back more, man.
I would love to come back on if you guys do something with Star Wars. I'm also big into Marvel and DC. I'm not sure if you guys follow. I don't know if you're into comics or not, but
I am.
That was my first love, comics in like 1974.
Actually, I have a question for you that I put out earlier today. Let me see how versed in the comics you are, real quick.
Not so much recently, but
okay,
I'm talking back in the day. Yeah.
So we dropped something earlier today, and I'm gonna just lead with this. You're good at DC, right?
Better at Marvel, but I know
better
DC.
at Marvel.
I know DC.
So, do you know who the Presence is?
The Presence?
Yeah.
Is that something that's going on today?
No, it's old. The Presence in DC is their version of God.
Okay.
Do you know who the one above all is in Marvel?
That's like in Marvel with the entity, and then there's someone above him, I guess.
Yes, the one above all is like Marvel's version of
right.
God. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we put out a battle who would win between those two. Either the Presence or the one above all. I say the one above all.
I mean,
but
I don't. How would they fight? I don't understand that.
Whoever has the most strength wins. Because you omnipotence versus omnipotence. It's like God and the devil, type thing. But whoever wins wins.
Thanos win above all if he had the Infinity Gauntlet with him?
Negative.
No. I thought he took on at the entity in the Infinity Gauntlet saga. I thought he beat everybody.
He did.
Mm.
Now, where they're going with Marvel, that's a different story. There's
Okay.
notice they're still going on with the story
Mm.
because they beat Thanos, but there's always someone bigger and badder until you get to the one above all. But
Okay.
yeah, it's gonna keep going. But
I like those people in the background, just like always being like in the peripheral. I don't like them a part of the storyline. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
Show
me
up,
too.
show up every 5 years, and I'm good with it. Galactus, once every 2-3 years, I'm cool with that. Or what's the guy in what's the Dark Side? I think DC missed a lot with Dark Side. I think they could have used him a lot more.
I think they'll bring him back eventually. I know they're working with this Penguin stuff and trying to go deeper down the rabbit hole.
Sure.
I think what they're doing with the Batman now
Mhm.
and putting the Penguin on Max and continuing that story from that movie and eventually leading into a second Batman movie.
Right.
DC's starting to pick up a lot of steam.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. But I like everything as far as pop culture goes. It doesn't matter to me. Star Trek, I go into everything. Monsters like Godzilla, Gamera, King Kong. If you guys ever get into that kind of stuff, I'm into it all. Sports is another love of mine. And then
we have invites everywhere, bro. We have shows for you. So if there's something you want to talk, let us know. We'll love to have you on whatever.
Pro wrestling actually was the last thing I fell in love with, believe it or not. That was like last on the totem pole. That happened around 1983.
Jesus, Tom.
And I got in at a good time. I got in at a very good time.
Well, that's funny you say that because Star Wars was the last thing I fell in love with, and that happened in 2015.
No.
When we went and seen The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Okay.
I took him to see The Last Jedi.
Yeah, first movie I ever saw in the theater was The Force Awakens.
Oh yeah, The Force Awakens. Yeah, that's what.
You guys are very young. You guys are very young. So I saw the original Star Wars in '77 in the theater, and I consumed everything. I had the trading cards, I had the books, I had the lunchbox that I went to school with. I had all these books. If it had to do with Star Wars, I ate it up. Star Wars and the Yankees from like the late '70s and the Cowboys. Okay,
I'm sorry.
Those are my three loves. And then '83, I saw Captain Lou Albano hit one of the Wild Samoans with a chair, and Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas won the tag team championships on TV on Saturday morning, and I became a fan for life. And Tony Atlas, quick story. Tony Atlas, my favorite wrestler, my first favorite wrestler, okay, because he had the body. And he not only did he have the body, not only could he pick anybody up and toss them around, but he was doing drop kicks. He was just a physical specimen. And my favorite wrestler until then Hogan came, and then I started hearing about Flair. Okay. But to this day now, Atlas and I have become friends, which is crazy because I've become his handler when he comes into New Jersey. When he comes in, we go out to eat together. I drive him around. He's given me his number. He says, if you ever just want to chat, just give me a phone call. And I just can't imagine, it's like your childhood hero, right? Can you imagine ever getting that kind of alone time? We talk about politics. We talk about, and not just like wrestling stuff too. We just talk about anything. And I love this business of professional wrestling. I always tell everyone it's different than Hollywood. Because if you like Iron Man, okay, or if you like Superman, when you see them at a Comic-Con, it's Henry Cavill, it's Robert Downey Jr. They're not in character, okay? They're just the actors. If you like Tony Atlas or if you like Hulk Hogan, when you see them at a signing, they're usually those characters. They're larger than life. That's who they are. So you're actually touching that superhero. And to me, all pro wrestling is superheroes larger than life. It's like real live superhero action for me. And that's why I've always gravitated towards pro wrestling, comics, good versus evil. That's it. Star Wars, good versus evil, dark side versus light. It all ties in.
That's awesome. I agree too. That's awesome. So How did you get into ISPW, and how do you like it so far? Because this, if I'm not wrong, this is like your first foray into the business as a talent, right?
It's yes, it's my first time in the business as wrestling talent. This Saturday, I'll be managing the mat mechanic Eric Corvus at a show in Pemberton, New Jersey. We're going up against this mindless beast called Yosifer L, who's just been a pain in our butt the last couple of weeks. I got into ISPW as a result of the pandemic. When COVID-19 happened, the promoter of ISPW, Tommy Fierro, was furloughed from his full-time job, and he had to look for work. And he decided to fall back on wrestling. He had been in the business about 20 years ago and then got out of it. The pandemic allowed him to get back into professional wrestling. So he opened up a pro wrestling store in New Jersey, which I went to, of course. My wife said, "Hey, there's a pro wrestling store not too far away, about 30 minutes. We should go see it." Right. So I can blame her for all this. We went to the store. I met Tommy. I knew his name from back in the day. And one thing led into another, and it just organically happened, Kelvin. I mean, from going to his store to him saying, "I'm running a show. I have a promotion called ISPW. I hope you can come to it." All right, I'll buy a ticket. I buy a ticket. I stay afterwards. I help put the chairs away. I help sweep up. Everything's organic. It's no different than a pro wrestler showing up at a promotion and putting the ring up. Okay? It's like ring crew. I wasn't ring crew. I was like event staff, live event staff. So when he started showing up at these other events, I would show up, I'd pay my ticket, sit in the front row, cheer the good guys, boo the bad guys, because that's what it's all about.
Yep.
I am a firm believer in keeping to their character. So I did that. And then one thing led to another. So about, I don't know, 16 weeks ago, I came up with an idea of doing a show just based upon ISPW. And I asked Tommy if I could do it. I said, "You don't have a presence on social media doing a podcast, and I'd love to do one. But it's going to be about ISPW. It's not going to be talking about, what happened on Raw last night. There's plenty of people doing that out there. I just wanted to be a little different." Okay. So I do this show called ISPW Weekly. It's just all about ISPW. I have a co-host who's fantastic, and we go on the air every Thursday at 7:00, if you don't mind the cheap plug. And we go
Plug
live and we interview the athletes from ISPW. We further the storylines. We continue the rivalries. They all are on there to get themselves over. Get over. That's all this business is about. Get yourself over. Here's a platform. Come on my show. Tell me why you're going to kick this guy's ass next week. Tell me why I need to buy a ticket. Why do I have to show? Okay. I don't want to see, "Oh, come to this show next week. I hope you can come," and someone puts a graphic up on Facebook. No, I want somebody telling me why I have to show up at that show. Do you remember as a kid watching those interviews with Mean Gene Okerlund in between the matches?
Yeah.
Piper would get up there and he'd be like, "Yeah, this week in East Rutherford, New Jersey, or this week in Houston, Texas, I'm going to be here." And then you'd be like, "Damn, I got to go to that show." We need that. The independent scene needs that more. So I brought that to Facebook, and through that, I have been given an opportunity to manage. And I'm very excited because as a kid, I was never the biggest, and I wasn't the strongest. So I knew I'd never be a pro wrestler, but I always thought I could be a manager. And I thought it'd be a lot of fun. And so right now
That's
I'm just
awesome.
living my dream.
That's awesome, man. I like it. When I saw that you had became a manager, I was like, damn, that's awesome. That's awesome. But I didn't know how ISPW Weekly started. That's a pretty good story, man. And I didn't know ISPW was that. I thought they had been around forever, honestly.
Well, they were. They started in like the late 90s during the Attitude Era. And then, things happened and, they went away for a while. And then, as I said, COVID-19 is the worst thing that's ever happened to most of us in our lives. And through tragedy sometimes, unfortunately, comes opportunity.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
a lot of people had life changing moments good and bad, as a result of what happened. I'm just glad for my sake it was for the good this time.
Yeah.
Like, put one in the win column, right?
Yep, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, shameless plug it, man. Where can the people find you? Plug away.
I'm on Instagram. It's at Totowa Tom. It's pretty easy. Also, my shoot name is Tom Mealy, Mele. I'm on Facebook, so you can friend me on there. And ISPW has their own Facebook page. If you want to follow ISPW Weekly, just go to the ISPW Facebook page. And we have a show that goes on every week. You could follow along from wherever you are in the US. And it's the crossroads of professional wrestling because we have up and comers and we have veterans on the way out. We have people like Crowbar and Danny Doring, who are like mainstays in the promotion, right? But we all know them from WCW and ECW and WWF. But, now they're, on the other side of their career, giving back, putting younger talent over, and this new upcoming talent like GKM, who's the new ISPW heavyweight champion right now, who you may have seen on AEW, on WWE. It's beautiful. It's what I said it was, the crossroads of professional wrestling.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Once again, man, thank you for coming on, man. This was awesome. This was an awesome show. So
I
definitely.
appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you very much.
no problem, sir. Frankie D, what you got, man? Take us home.
What do I got? Well, I mean, I'm very interested to see where this story is going to go with The Rock, with Roman. I mean, it's crazy to me that they have been able to continue this story since 2021. This is when this whole thing started with the bloodline, and just when I'm like, man, like if had only WCW had did this with the NWO and did it correctly, we would. I mean, they've surpassed it. You know what I'm saying? So it's it's gonna be very interesting the next few months to see where they take this story. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the Xavier Woods heel turn. I'm looking forward to what's going on in AEW right now with the Hurt Syndicate. I think there's some promise there. It's a lot of stuff going on right now. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm going to give the Skeleton Crew a chance in December. I want to see how this connects to everything else. So I'm trying to be positive at the moment to see where things are going. Not so much of a stuck upish asshole, like I normally can be. Uh, I'm trying to see where stuff is going, and I'm looking forward to it. You know what I mean? I'm looking forward for another set of eyes just to see where things are going, seeing how things develop. I'm telling you, man. Like I predicted The Rock was going to show up at Bad Blood. He shows up at Bad Blood, and it's just another wrinkle to the story. But I'll tell you one thing I didn't like. I didn't like the Kevin Owens turn because you saw it coming a mile away. Like Kevin Owens he's becoming, him and the Miz are becoming basically like modern day Big Show at this point with the constant turns. You know what I'm saying? Like especially with and I think I mentioned this before. Like the thing that kind of bothers me about the R-Truth Miz story is that I would love to see Ron Killings become what he was in TNA when he was Ron Truth Killings when he first turned heel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm tired of the goofy character, bro. I'm tired of this story. I want to see Truth say, "The hell with this." And I'm gonna turn it up. Like I'm tired of being the joke character. I mean, it's run its course, man. Like Truth being comedy relief to me has kind of run its course. You know what I'm saying? So I want to bring something up real quick. I'm not sure how much time Tom has left, but it's something we were talking about before we started the show, and it was talking about how they were talking about the gate for Bad Blood and how it was the biggest the biggest arena gate in the history of the building. And I'm like, you know what? I was listening to Vince Russo talk about this, and he brought up a good point. Like, how the hell can you people cheer this when they're basically saying that we overcharged you for these tickets? And this is how we get this gate that we're getting right now because your marks bought all the damn, you
It's
fell
true.
for it. So I'm like, I didn't think about it like that, and I'm like, Vince has some good points there as far as like, yeah, they're overcharging. I remember like we were talking about, you were talking about back in the Tony Atlas days in the WWF and all that, and it was a lot more affordable back then to go to a show than it is now. I remember the first house show I went to was in August of 1996. It was at the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California. The main event on the show was Shawn Michaels versus shit. I think it was Shawn Michaels versus the British Bulldog, I believe it was. But $12 a ticket.
Wow.
That's what it was. Like Vince was getting his ass kicked at the moment by WCW. $12 tickets to a house show. We are gone past that now. Vince Russo made it very clear. Throw out everything you knew about professional wrestling, the fundamentals of wrestling. It's gone. This is now a corporate greed company, is what it is. And we're gonna see where this takes us because right now they're high right now, right? But this is the way AEW can combat this. If AEW can be the more consumer-friendly product, where it's a more affordable product, they can do some good business over there. Because this WWE is getting ridiculous with their prices. I mean, you can't even get a decent ticket now for less than $100.
I think second market was like $200. I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they'll buy all those damn tickets up that are decent, and then they're going to jack the prices up.
They got a point too, because in a sense, I'd be looking at WrestleMania like, how bad do I really want to go to WrestleMania?
Not bad for me.
Right. Like,
I got to tell you something. So they announced that SummerSlam's going to be in New Jersey, right?
Right.
2 nights.
2 nights.
Yep.
And Kelvin, I don't know if you heard me on Busted Open. I said I'm going to be first in line for everything, right?
Yep.
Kind of a lie, because I'm going to tell you right now, I am not going to SummerSlam. I will do everything else. If Busted Open has a party, and I'm sure they will, if there's independent shows, and I know there will be, if they're like all these ancillary type stuff, I will be there. I'll be first in line for that. But I like watching pay-per-views on my black couch over there, climate controlled room. I can get up, go to the bathroom, and plus you miss so much when you're in the arena. I was at WrestleMania when it was in LA. I missed a lot. First of all, I was up in the I can only afford the upper tier, but I mean they had the SoFi had that really cool it was like a jumbotron that went like around the arena.
Yeah.
So, and when it was working, it was okay, but it was just like, why am I not home watching this?
Yeah, you're watching on TV basically.
And I don't get to hear the commentary, and the commentary is so important to a wrestling story. So important. I mean, I was there for the experience, and I'm glad I went, and it was great. But SummerSlam in New Jersey, I won't be at SummerSlam. I'll be at everything else, but I'll come back home here at night, watch the show here. I'll get up early the next morning and go to the next whatever event that Busted Open has. Or
you got a point, because my whole reason for going to Vegas is to basically be with the Busted Open Nation, because I've never done it. I got here and we went to WrestleMania, and I had just moved here, so I caught the tail end of the Busted Open party as everybody was leaving and going to WrestleMania. So I ended up going to WrestleMania, and I was like you. I missed a lot, and it wasn't for lack of trying, because I was trying to stay engaged to the show. It was fun, but dude, the amount of moving that a WrestleMania produces is insane. Like, people move around a lot, and it's distracting. So I probably won't do WrestleMania. I'll probably do the smaller things. Like you, I know they'll be doing the independent show. When they came here, I did pretty much everything because it was my first WrestleMania, and I was like, I'm gonna enjoy it all, and I did. But going forward, I'm probably gonna be like you. I'm just gonna do the smaller things.
Yeah,
I know they'll have them around. If there's parties and stuff to go to, I'll do that. But other than that,
ISPW will have something too. I've already spoken to the promoter. We're going to run something. Let me ask you guys this. What do you think about the fact that it's on Easter Sunday this year?
That's interesting.
I mean, Vegas wants it there because typically it's a dead time of year for them. No one's gambling on Easter Sunday. So that's one of the reasons why they chose that weekend. Because I was actually, I thought about it for like a hot second about going to Vegas. And then I said to myself, That's crazy. It's on Easter Sunday. I could never get away from that with the family. I could never do it.
Yeah.
And I'm not the biggest religious guy, too. I'm just saying that the line has to be drawn somewhere.
Yeah, that's
that is definitely. I won't even be able to watch it probably on Easter Sunday. I'll probably be at some family gathering, right?
That just shows you kind of where we are right now, where money and greed goes over religion. That's
Yep.
just that's kind of where we are right now, and that's unfortunate. But I didn't even think about that until you just said
Yeah,
that.
I didn't either. That's an interesting thought, though. Yeah.
WWE just doesn't. They don't care. I mean, they're gouging their fans. They're hot right now. But what is it really doing to the business? It's trickling down in a negative way. They also brought the fact that Meltzer is discounting his newsletter right now because Meltzer's filming the shit too now because
Wait, he's doing what?
discounting his newsletter. The price of his newsletter went down.
I just re-upped for the whole year last week.
Yeah. They went. Yeah, they were talking. Yeah, they mentioned this on. I was listening to the show and they mentioned that his newsletter it went down on the price. I guess everybody's feeling it right now. WWE's making all this money because they're overcharging every damn thing. That's what they're doing.
They kind of, I don't want to say they have to, but they're dumping a lot of money into the production. So you got to recoup that somewhere.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, bro, they've downgraded the production. Look at the stage now.
Well, yeah, you're right.
The stages are they don't have more fans, right? But that's how they're doing it. They're and those quote unquote cheap seats are not cheap anymore.
Oh hell no.
You know what I mean? No. It's like I have no interest in going in that unless I get comped. That's it. I have no interest in doing it. Now, if they say, "Hey, well, Frank, you want to come to Lucasfilm for a weekend?" Fuck yeah. Do you want to go to WrestleMania? No.
Yeah.
I'll go to Lucasfilm though. Yeah, hell yeah.
All right, man. All right. So, any more final thoughts?
No, the final thought is basically, I guess I'll end it on my thing. Help.
Yeah,
you know that popular.
You know what I was asking.
Have your pets spayed or neutered and all that, and long live the Empire, and all that good jazz. But Totowa Tom, it was a pleasure talking to you, my guy. It was.
Thank you.
This was fun. I enjoyed this. This is great, man. We have to do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
I hope so.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to this one. We wanted to do something different this week, go a little more Star Wars heavy, and this actually worked out really well, man. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. This will be on all your streaming platforms soon. So if you missed the show tonight, tap in. But until then, you guys take care of each other. Be safe. Enjoy what you want to enjoy. And peace.
And I know it's all business. We give them no gimmicks. Yeah. And I know it's all business. We give them no gimmicks. Yeah. And I know it's all business. We give them no gimmicks.